Hello and welcome to the Mendota Safe Routes to School Master Plan webinar. Tonight we have our project team. Myself, Morgan Wright, I'm an assistant planner on the project. We have Rafael Sanchez providing the Spanish version of the webinar. Becca Quist has been helping with outreach on this project. She is helping run the webinar tonight. And then we also have Sarah Allender, the principal planner on the project, and Michael Osborne, the city engineer here. So the Safe Routes to School Master Plan that the city of Mendota is putting together is funded by the Active Transportation Program. The city received grant funding to work on the project. The project was initiated in March of 2022, and since then, the project team has been working on some documents that have been shared on the website and in the city running public outreach events. And we are working towards releasing a draft of the plan, which we are anticipating in early spring of 2023, all leading up to the adoption of the final plan in April of 2023. So the pieces that have been completed to date and are shared on the project webpage, we have a summary of the surveys that we received from all the schools. We also have the existing conditions report. This looks at the existing policies and programs in Mendota that relate to transportation and routes to school. We have also completed the safety analysis, which looks at collision data and some site visit analysis that the project team has completed. We've also completed a summary of the 5 school outreach events. One outreach event was conducted at each school that is included in the final plan, and that is summarized on the website. And then all of those pieces come together for our school site audits. And a school site audit was created for each of the schools in the plan, and it gets really site specific, identifying some safety concerns for that school related to transportation and routes to school. Upcoming, our next big document release will be the public draft Safe Routes to School Master Plan. At that time, we'll do some additional public outreach, and there'll be another meeting where you can hear more about the plan and provide your comments on it. And then following that, we'll be working towards plan adoption, which, as I mentioned earlier, will be in April of 2023. So today we'll be looking at really 2 things. And this is kind of the culmination of all of those pieces that have been completed to date. We're looking at the identified safety concerns that the project team has found. And this is really split into 5 categories. We're looking at crosswalks, lane reductions, sidewalks, signage, and programs. And then we also have potential improvements, which will be included in the plan to address those safety concerns. So our first area of concern we have is crosswalks. And we have 3 real safety concerns that we've identified related to crosswalks. First, there are some intersections which warrant a crosswalk and don't have one marked. We also have a few crosswalks where the existing pedestrian infrastructure, like the ramp and the sidewalk, don't line up perfectly with the crosswalk. And then there were also some pedestrian and vehicle collisions that we identified in the safety analysis where it occurred within a marked crosswalk. So to address those concerns, where there are missing crosswalks, our suggested improvement is to add a crosswalk. Not every intersection necessarily needs a crosswalk to be a safe crossing, but there were a few that we identified that did warrant one. Where the ramps and crosswalks are misaligned, we propose restriping, repainting that crosswalk to better match up with the existing infrastructure. And then to address the potential for a pedestrian and vehicle collision to occur in a crosswalk, we're looking at ways we can redesign that crosswalk to better suit pedestrians. And we might propose alternative striping or materials like bricks or pavers to draw attention to that crosswalk. And we can also use infrastructure pieces like bulb outs, which we'll discuss in some later topics to help address that issue. So for lane reductions, one concern that we heard many times at public outreach events was that vehicles speed, and this is especially true on State Route 33 and 180, and also on some streets like Belmont. So to reduce those speeds, we want to make sure that the street is designed in a way that facilitates the intended speed and the safe speed for the amount of pedestrian activity happening there. And we'll do this primarily through lane reductions, reducing the number of travel lanes and also the width of those travel lanes. And this is something that the city has already seen. Caltrans completed a project on State Route 33 and 180 to reduce the number of lanes and reduce the width of those lanes by changing the striping of the road. Adding turn lanes, adding striped parking lanes and bike lanes is one great way to reduce the number and width of travel lanes. And we can also do this with what we call bulb outs. And these are changes to the curb. And we can see this in the picture on the right here, where the curb comes into the street a little bit more than it did before. And when we do this, we can help designate the parking area, and also at pedestrian crossings, we help move pedestrians into the intersection a little bit more before they're actually in the road. This makes it more visible to drivers. It reduces the distance that they have to cross. And so it has a lot of safety benefits, along with helping to reduce speed by reducing lanes. So our safety concerns regarding sidewalks, there were some sidewalk network gaps that we identified. So these are areas where there are sidewalk on either side of this area, but not in this particular spot. And we also identified quite a few intersections that have what we call non-directional pedestrian ramps. If we look at the picture on the right here, we can see that at this corner of the intersection, there's only one ramp that points into the center of the intersection, and we would call this non-directional, as opposed to a directional ramp, which has two ramps at the intersection and at that corner, one pointing in either direction that a pedestrian could cross. So our potential improvements related to sidewalks, we're looking to add sidewalk to fill those gaps. We're also looking to convert to pedestrian ramps wherever that's possible. It's important to note that it is not always possible to add a directional ramp. The street corner may be too small to accommodate it. There may be existing infrastructure pieces like lamp posts or other utilities that can't be moved to accommodate these ramps. In those cases, it's possible to accommodate the directional ramp with additional infrastructure like a bulb out. But where it is really not feasible at all to accommodate a directional ramp, we'll look to adjust the striping. And the primary way we do this is to widen the crosswalk to include the area directly in front of the non-directional ramp where pedestrians would be moving to then turn onto the direction that they're crossing. So for signage, we identified a few instances where the existing signage is not as clear as it could be, and we'll look to clarify that signage. And then we also identified some crossings where signage should be added. So our potential improvements here, relocating, adjusting the signage, adding maybe one or two more signs will help clarify those instances where the signage is a little confusing. And we'll also look to provide additional signage in areas that have heavy pedestrian activity. This will include adding flashing pedestrian beacons. We received a lot of feedback during our public outreach that this is something people wanted to see more of. And it's something that's underway in Mendota. Caltrans has a project underway to add some of these flashing pedestrian beacons, and this master plan will identify some more areas where they might be implemented. We also want to make sure that where sight lines are limited, like where there's a curve in the road, we're providing plenty of advanced warning of an upcoming crosswalk for drivers. And then finally, we have some safety concerns that will be addressed through things that are not infrastructure, but through programs and perhaps policy changes. Our safety concerns here will look to address dangerous driving behavior. There also during public outreach, we heard that catcalling and harassment were an issue, especially for high school age girls walking to school. And then there were also some places where there were dangerous intersections to cross, which we can address through programs. So our potential improvements, our potential programs that will include in the master plan, programs that would increase police enforcement of traffic laws, especially during school drop-off and pickup, and also opportunities for driver education. So there are programs which can help move drivers from, if a driver received a citation, they could attend a driver education class on driver safety instead of paying a ticket. To address catcalling and harassment, we'll be looking to propose walking groups and safe haven programs, which help students find other people to walk to school with, and also find places that are safe to stop and seek help along the way if they need that after experiencing catcalling or harassment. And then we'll also look for programs that will increase the opportunity for crossing guards and the number of intersections served by crossing guards. This is something else that we received a lot of feedback. People wanted to see more crossing guards. So that is the information we have to share today, a general summary of the types of safety concerns and programs that will be included in the final plan. If you have any questions or are looking for more information, I will direct you to the Safe Routes Project website, where you can view all the documents we've produced to date and also sign up for email updates to receive information about new documents and upcoming public outreach. Thank you.